Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you are a brand new subscriber or a brand new viewer. My name is Kyle. So, in less than a week from when this video is being recorded, No Time to Die or Bond 25 will be hitting theaters in the United States. I cannot wait to see that film. It is definitely my most anticipated film of the year. I can't wait. And in preparation for it, I am reviewing Daniel Craig's first 3 Bond films. I've already reviewed the movie Spectre when the film came out, and I don't feel like I need to re-review the movie because I feel like everything I wanted to say about that movie I did state in my long video. So if you would like to check it out, I will have the link above so you can do so. I've previously reviewed Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. If you'd like to see those reviews, I will have the links above so you can also watch them. Today, we are going to be talking about my most nostalgic James Bond movie, 2012's Skyfall, directed by Sam Mendes, and once again starring Daniel Craig as British Secret Agent 007. Skyfall will always be a special movie in my heart. It is the first James Bond movie I saw in theaters. I was 13 and a half years old. I went to go see it with my father, who has been a lifelong James Bond fan. At the time of the movie's release, this was one of only 3 films that I ever saw twice in theaters, because I absolutely adored it, and I think that was the case for a lot of people because it was the highest grossing Bond film when it came out. Now, I of course did rewatch this movie, as I did with Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, to give you guys my most up-to-date thoughts on the film, and I was kind of wondering what my thoughts on Skyfall would be rewatching it, because I haven't seen it in its entirety in maybe 2 years, but I was definitely very, very excited to rewatch it, and I was not let down because this movie to me still kicks so much ass. It's got a couple of little things that we'll talk about, but I would say that 95% of this movie is slam bang awesomeness. I do have to warn you, this review will contain spoilers, as I will be talking about the entire film, as well as the ending, so if you have not seen Skyfall, please watch it, because it's a great movie, and come back to this review. This movie is directed by Sam Mendes, who previously worked with Daniel Craig in the film Road to Perdition. Very underrated film, really gritty, awesome film, and he most definitely brings a more shadowy and somber element to this movie. It definitely feels different than both Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, and that's something that was definitely needed. The first shot of Skyfall is one that I will never forget. Everybody in the theater was absolutely frozen when that little cue from the song came on and he just appeared, walks down the hallway, and his eyes are glowing. It kind of reminded me of the shot from GoldenEye when he's in the lab. I'd like to mention that this was also the first James Bond movie that I really liked Daniel Craig in. And to this day, it's my personal favorite performance. In the previous 2 movies, he was gritty, hard-boiled, would not stop until you're dead. In this movie, he still has those elements, but it looks like he's having a little bit more fun. The opening scene to this movie does not take long to get me absolutely absorbed into the action. And as a matter of fact, I could feel my heart pounding. And again, I've seen this movie at least a dozen times. So for a film like this that I've seen multiple times, and I know the outcome of it, to have the reaction that I did, it just means you're watching something really good. So there's really 2 elements to the plot of this movie. The first one being is that Bond gets shot, and you're thinking he dies, but he doesn't. He ends up somehow getting saved, but he decides to retreat into the shadows, but he's eventually brought back when MI6 becomes under attack. And M, once again played by Judi Dench, is being haunted by somebody from her past. When I reviewed Casino Royale, one of the big things I stated was how I adored that the story led to the action. They weren't just throwing in a random fight scene for no reason. Everything was connected to the plot, and the plot of the movie was really damn good. Skyfall, like Casino Royale, is a movie where the plot leads to the action. And not just the action, but the overall film itself is beautifully shot, and that's because it's lensed by the one and only Roger Deakins. My 2 favorite elements that drive the rest of the movie are almost within the same sequence. Bond eventually comes back to MI6 and he has to be trained. 2 months in isolation after being rippled have definitely affected his aim. He's not the same man that he once was. So that's going to make the action very interesting because you don't know how he's going to react. The second being the introduction to the new Q, played by Whishaw, who I think is actually really good in the role. He definitely fits that millennial age character who's kind of like laid back. Through this, we get introduced to the gadgets, which is literally a gun and a radio, to which Q replies,
Were you expecting an exploding pen? We don't really go in for that anymore.
I think the best element about Skyfall is that it's able to pay tribute and have adoration for the traditional Bond formula of gadgets being given, beautiful exotic locations, beautiful women, but it's able to not feel bogged down by it. It's not restricted to it. It doesn't feel like they're just retreating to it. It still feels like something new, and that's what the Craig Bond films before Spectre did so well. I can literally sit here and talk all day about my first reactions to every scene, but I want to jump forward to the Shanghai fight scene. This sequence is a thing of beauty. Everything about it, from the wall of mirrors to Bond hanging on the elevator and eventually losing his grip. Again, he's not the same man he once was. What I love about this scene is that up until this point, the only other action scene we had was at the very beginning of the film, and it was against the very same man. And the fight scene is so good. It's done in one take. It is just such a breath of fresh air during that time period, because we were still in that late 2000s, very early 2010s portion where action was just cut to death. At this time, I'd like to talk about the performances in the movie, because I really want to give them just a minute to shine. I love Naomi Harris in this movie. Despite the fact that she became the woman behind the desk, Moneypenny, this movie was here to prove that if you ever crossed her, she would kick your ass. This woman represents sexiness, wittiness, and badassery. Ralph Fiennes plays Gareth Mallory, and Ralph Fiennes, if I ever met him in real life, I would probably walk up to him and say, it is so easy to hate you because of the characters he plays. They're either annoying or evil, like Voldemort and Goth from Schindler's List. But I do like the fact that his character is technically doing his job. There's also Berenice Marlohe, who plays the mysterious femme fatale Severin. And just like with Naomi Harris, her chemistry with Daniel Craig absolutely shines during their scene together. Although, the latter scene is something we'll talk about in just a minute. Now, I've waited until this point to talk about the villain of the film, Silva, played by Javier Bardem. Within the first 10 seconds, when he steps off that elevator, you know that he is going to command this entire scene. He is an exceptional, exceptional actor. And he's one that scares the living hell out of me. If you saw the film No Country for Old Men, you know what I'm talking about. What I do like is that he is a former agent who used to know M. It's a departure from the very weak and forgettable villain of Quantum of Solace, and definitely stronger than Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. This is definitely the first adversary that could definitely go toe-to-toe with Bond. I will say, though, uncuffing Bond is a bad idea in and of itself. Not checking his pockets or shoes for any sort of transmitter, that's also kind of dumb. Now we can talk about Silva's escape, because this particular sequence has drawn considerable controversy, I think, ever since the movie was released. Everybody's wondering, how did he know where to go? How did he know the train schedule? All of those things. I would say about 80 to 85% of his plan I can understand. You find out later that his plan was to be captured so that he could eventually escape and kill M. I think the two things that don't make sense about this scene is the idea he knows when a train is going to come through when he blows a hole through the wall. That's a little bit far-fetched. And the other being, how would he know that M was at her court date at the same time he was captured? But I think, in defense of the latter point, no matter where she was, he was going to kill her. I will definitely state that the music in this scene is great, and the music throughout the whole movie is also awesome. Thomas Newman took over from David Arnold to compose the score. I wouldn't say he's at the same level as David Arnold is with his Bond theme in particular, but I definitely like his score. It fits that more somber edge, but it has a very vivacious and entertaining edge to it as well. I also can't review this movie without talking about the reveal of the Aston Martin. Both times I saw this movie in theaters, it got a progressive clap and a laugh at the same time. I think for some, a big criticism is the movie is too long, particularly after the courtroom scene. They might have wished the climactic sequence took place there, but I don't mind that because we were hinted at what Skyfall was towards the beginning of the film. It was something that actually triggered Bond. So to discover that Skyfall represented his childhood home, anybody seeing it in the theater, it was definitely a surprise, because I didn't know what it was. We get to meet Kincaid, played by Albert Finney. Albert Finney in any movie is always going to be entertaining.
This is not your fight.
Try and stop me, you jumped up little shit.
And just like I mentioned about the opening scene, the climactic fight at the house is honestly just still as heart-pounding today as it was back in 2012. The stunts and the practicality of it all, the fact that this is a real house that they shot in, is honestly to be admired. And Silva absolutely made his biggest mistake when he decided to blow up the Aston Martin. The face that Bond gives, it's like if looks could kill, we would all be dead. And this then leads to one of my all-time favorite movie explosions, not just in the theater, but explosions ever. And the end to this movie is essentially M dying. It's a very sad moment, and again, it's a reveal that you wouldn't see coming unless you watch the movie. To me, this is the moment where Skyfall shines a little bit over Casino Royale, in my opinion, because this, to me, is the first Bond movie where the villain absolutely succeeded in his plan. Silva was trying to kill M. That was his mission, in his mind. And even though he died before she did, they died within minutes of each other. So he was able to accomplish his goal. I can't think of any other villain in the Bond franchise that has been able to do that. I'm using this word a lot, but it's a very somber moment. And it feels very weighty because Judi Dench is my favorite M, and I think to most everybody she's our favorite M. To see a character so iconic and beloved just die in the arms of Bond, it's just a very sad moment. I remember sitting in the theater hearing people start to cry during that scene. It was just very emotional. Morality is something that, when you're talking about James Bond, it's a very odd subject to touch upon because he has done certain things that are not heroic. Having sex with a woman in the shower who was formerly a sex slave, it just hasn't held up. And I don't feel like it even held up back then, but rewatching it today, it's a little creepy, to be honest. Silva's plan's got a couple of problems in it, and Bond should never have had his handcuffs taken out of him. That was a very dumb decision by the villain. Despite the fact that he wanted to be captured, it's still just very dumb because Bond could have killed him right there. Aside from all of those little issues, I still absolutely love Skyfall. It's a movie that will always be very special to me, but upon this rewatch, there's no doubt that the action sequences are fun, kinetic, and exciting. The music is very thematic and somber. The direction by Sam Mendes is fantastic, and it's aided by Roger Deakins' gorgeous cinematography. The editing of the film is great. I don't feel like it's slow. I feel like the movie has a thorough line of a pace. And again, this is a movie where the story leads to the action. So it's not just an action movie just for the sake of it being an action movie. When the action sequences happen, you get so excited because of how well shot they are. I think all the performances are fantastic, namely Naomi Harris. I really liked her in this movie, and I'm just still, to this day, so disappointed that she's basically the behind-the-desk secretary that we saw in the older Bond films. I feel like this character has always deserved more, and in this movie she's a badass, but I will always remember her as a badass in this movie. Skyfall will always be my personal favorite, and I think it is neck and neck with Casino Royale, and because of that, I'm going to give Skyfall an A. No Time to Die is coming out in less than a week from when I recorded this review. I am so excited for the movie. I have my advance tickets for Wednesday, October the 6th. I plan to have my review out to you guys on Thursday the 7th, so please stay tuned for that. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. Also, the links to my social media pages are all in the description box below. I've also set up my new business email, so any inquiries, you can also send them down in the description box below. I'm working on a new website too, so I will let you guys know when that is up. Thank you all so much as always for watching, and stay tuned.